Hello, everybody. This is Gary Matheny. It's October 2024, and today is going to be a little bit different. My daughter, my oldest daughter, has signed me up for Storyworth, and because she is a daughter, a newborn, born just a couple months ago, and she wants some type of account for my life so she can share that with her daughter down the road. And so what you do with Storyworth is you sign up for it, and they give you a list of questions to ask, and then you provide the answer to the question, and then through a process, partly due to some editing here and some editing with Storyworth, they come up with your story. Of course, the story is within the parameters of the questions that are asked. And so it's not freelance writing per se. And I think it's primarily geared towards inexperienced writers that, need help, a little bit of nudge on the subject matter, so to speak. And so I'm happy to accommodate my daughter and try and be as helpful as I can to answer the questions that are asked. So the first question that we're going to ask is, what things are you proudest of in your life? What are you proudest of in your life? And for me, I would say there is a Frank Sinatra song called I Did It My Way. And that's kind of capsulizes how I feel about my life, is I did it my way. I'm 71 years old now, and I can look back and see the decisions that I made, and not all decisions were good decisions, but they were my decisions. And literally, I was wanting to make my own decisions in life and let the results speak for themselves. Even when I was younger, I used to say, when I'm old, I don't want to say or blame other people for my life. I don't want to blame my parents. I don't want to blame my social status, my education, or anything like that. I don't want to blame others. I don't want to blame the system. I want to make my own choices within the system and let the results speak for themselves. Good, bad, or indifferent. Whether I was successful or not was secondary to the larger question: was I taking responsibility for my life and making my own decisions? And so at this stage in my life, probably one of my favorite songs is Frank Sinatra's version, I Did It My Way, because that's the glory of that song, is that he is a self-made man. Now, I deviate from that a little bit because I consider myself a God-made man. So let me tell you a little bit about my experience. In 1976, in March 1976, I became a believer, a Christian in Springfield, Missouri. I was a senior in college down at Old Southwest Missouri State University. And for a number of years as a Christian, I was really fascinated with this concept of forsaking all to follow Jesus. You know, this whole idea of discipleship really intrigued me and really challenged me. And I didn't really know what it understood or how to do it, but there was something about forsaking all to follow Jesus. And so what motivated me in that direction? Why did I have that particular mindset to be a disciple? Not just a believer, but a disciple. I think in retrospect, it was almost a desperate desire to see the hand of God. I almost had a sense of desperation about wanting to see the hand of God in my life. And when I say the hand of God, I'm primarily talking about the experience of the goodness of God. I wanted to experience what it was to be a Christian. I didn't want to sit on a pew and observe Christianity as a spectator, but I wanted to experience the goodness of God for my life. And so that kind of charted me as a newborn believer way back in 1976 to be a disciple, to be willing to forsake all to follow Jesus. You know, before I became a believer in 1976, I really felt like that I had so little to offer, probably the least to offer. I would line myself up last, probably when it came to the student body, so to speak. In fact, one time, a girl, a lady, had told me after she found out I had become a lawyer, she said in high school that if there was a category for least likely to succeed, she would have voted for me. And so she was utterly shocked that along the line I had become a lawyer because she had sized me up in high school as somebody that was a loser. And I think I pretty much fit that mold. I was not one of these people that was designed to be a successful person. Didn't have a great personality, didn't have great looks, didn't have great connections, didn't have great sporting abilities. I was just Joe average or Joe below average. Now, my father was a very demanding man. And in some respects, that inspired me. And I don't know how much I was motivated by this concept. I wanted to prove him wrong, but I've heard other men say that their dad belittled them so much that that they wanted to prove their dad wrong. My dad loved me. I love my dad. There is no doubt that I believe he loved me. But he was a very, very demanding man. And I don't think that I really met the standard that my father was demanding. He was World War II generation. And he would say things as I was growing up. Gary, you can't punch your way out of a paper bag. Or he said one time, thank goodness it was only once, he said, Gary, you wouldn't make a pimple on a real man's ass. And so he's a very demanding man, and I felt like I was an utter failure in almost every respect. And I tried to succeed on my own merits. But I was one of these people that the harder I tried to succeed, the more I failed. I failed on so many different fronts, I can't even number them when I was in high school. And even my years in college, there was failure after failure. I was very unlucky in love. In fact, that's one of the reasons I went to law school in 1985. I had fallen in love with a woman, and she did not reciprocate that love. And I was in St. Louis, and it was like, I want a new chapter in my life. I want to do something different. So I got accepted in law school. Actually, in 1982, I graduated in 1985. Got accepted in law school and moved to Columbia. Very difficult for me, my first year of law school, but it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made to go to law school and stay in law school for the long-term benefits of my life. I didn't get married till I was 36 years old in 1989. And so there was a lot of things in my life that were unsettled. And it really wasn't until I became a believer in 1976 that some of the pieces of my life started fitting together. Like I developed a sense of finding something I want to do. I became an insurance claim adjuster out of college, working that job with good work ethic. I became more successful in the work arena. In other arenas, I failed. And some things worked in my life, but some things didn't. But over time, more and more things started working. In other words, the pieces of my life started coming together. It didn't come together all at once. It came together piece by piece by piece to where things started working for me as a believer, as a Christian, as a man, as a lawyer. And so basically, if you think in this context, after I became a lawyer in 1985, I got a job at a big law firm down in St. Louis. It wasn't not a silk stocking law firm, but it had about 25 attorneys. And then, half a dozen or so years later, I moved to the country in Farmington, Missouri with my wife, and we had a newborn infant. She was born in 1992, and we moved down in 1993, and I became a solo practitioner. I became self-employed, and being self-employed probably changed my life virtually more than anything else, because I went from a North St. Louis County working class mindset to being my own boss. So even after I had become a lawyer, working for a big law firm, I never thought in context of self-employment or solo practice of law. But in 1993, 1994, 1995, I moved forward in that direction and eventually succeeded in the practice of law. And it had some harrowing moments. There were times that we wondered whether we'd be able to pay our mortgage. I remember one time we vacationed in Springfield, Missouri. And I look back at that and I say, we didn't even have enough money to go to Branson. And so, Branson's another hour down the road from Springfield or thereabouts. Then we could make it to Springfield and spend a long weekend in Springfield, but we couldn't make it down to Branson because we simply did not have the extra money to do that. Now, you look back at that as an older person with a certain amount of fondness, a certain amount of thinking in terms of, we made it. We made it. How did I do it? I did it my way. I'm not a self-made man. I'm a God-made man. I'm married. I have 3 children. I've got 1 grandchild. And I have a tremendous feeling of accomplishment. But that accomplishment comes from God. And so when I hear Frank Sinatra sing, I did it my way, I got one finger pointed to the sky. God bless you. You all have a great day. Thank you very much.